Hey, welcome to the Exarban Foundation Scholarships and Internships webinar. Today, I'm so glad to be joined by our special guest. But before we get started with intros and who's who, I'm Shauna Dorsey with the Exarban Foundation. And my co-host, Michaela, will you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Michaela Sandian with Grand Island Senior High.
Excellent. And today we have, I don't know how many times you've been on this webinar, probably like at least once. It
See,
feels
I
like,
was trying to remember, not sure.
but Angie, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, I am Angie Stenger, and I am located in Norfolk, Nebraska. I am the executive director of Growing Together, which is powered by Exarban, one of the original Exarban workforce initiatives that was created.
Awesome, awesome. And today we're going to learn more about what Angie has been up to because there's been so much growth and development in Norfolk and just a great model for what can work across the state. But Michaela's going to kick us off with questions and we'll get into it.
Fabulous.
Wonderful. Would you tell us, Angie, a little bit about what was the path that led you to lead Growing Together in Northeast Nebraska?
Oh, that is a scary path that was full of self-reflection and letting other people help me see what I am born to do. And so I was in radio and TV and still in that world part-time, but was full-time in that world. And things changed. At that point, I had been on the radio and things were changing. My co-host was leaving, and we were just looking like, what's my next path? What's the next thing that will serve both our company and our community? And my business partner, Mike Flood, said, what if you would step into this growing together piece? And I'll go back a little bit and explain that growing together and Exarban. So Exarban and the community of Norfolk had been working together, and this is about 2018, and looking for an opportunity of what is it that Northeast Nebraska needs. Mike Flood is on the Exarban board, and they said, "What's Northeast Nebraska needing?" And gave him a data scientist that did the work. And much like not just Norfolk, but Nebraska and probably most of the states in the Midwest, they were seeing, a net migration of young people leaving the area and not coming back, going away to college and not coming back, or just going away for opportunities. And so they said, let's figure out what can we do to make a difference. And so they created this initiative. They created this workforce plan of repopulating Northeast Nebraska, but it had been all volunteers up until that point. And they're like, we feel like we need to put an executive director in place that can be the juggler of the projects, the I call myself the workforce matchmaker some days. I mean, the beauty of my job is I get to do something different every day. And so that happened in February of 2020, and I came onto this role full time.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's just been cool to see it grow. I know I've only known you for the last, gosh, now almost 3 years, but um, it's just been great working with you and learning from you and just seeing everything that's happening in Northeast Nebraska. And speaking of which, can you tell us how it's evolved since it started?
Sure, sure. I'll give you the six things that were the efforts that they wanted to focus on. This was a partnership of about 30 community members that came together and helped build this plan. And that included educators and elected officials and some service agencies and business people all come together to figure out what was needed. And the six things that they focused on were downtown development or downtown density, creating some intentional density of young people, knowing that when you are in a bigger city, you're going to be often around people your own age. Well, that wasn't happening in Norfolk because we are rural. We're a little more suburban built, and there wasn't a place where, like, hey, if you're young and cool, you're going to live in this space. Well, we wanted to create that. And so that was our downtown area. The co-op scholarship program with Wayne State was something that came to be that would bring young people to living in downtown Norfolk their senior year of college. The workforce redevelopment, looking at the concept that we knew even in 18 and 19 as they were looking at this, automation was coming. We may have not understood where AI would be in our everyday life, But at that point, we knew it was going to come into automation and AI. And so let's make sure that we're retraining our current workforce and building up the new workforce to be able to handle those things. And then the other thing they wanted to focus on was entrepreneurs and how do we help founders and create a co-working space that gives people that opportunity to create a business working with Invest Nebraska. And then not last, arts and culture was a really important piece, knowing that you cannot automate a creative mind, you cannot automate a mind, and but also that you see arts and culture being such a vibrant piece of an identifier in economic development that this community is actually moving and thriving. And then the last was early childhood education and the importance that like, if we get all these people to stay here, move here, live here, they're going to have kids and we're going to need to take care of those. And so those are the six things that we focused on. And so over the last 5 years, we've seen the development. We've moved people into downtown. We have apartments downtown. We've done a lot with Wayne State. We are now in full force. The very first year, we had 30 students who went into Wayne State the fall of 2020 with the intention of their senior year, they'd be in downtown Norfolk. The next year, we had 45. And then every year since then, we've had 75. And so we've graduated 2 classes so far. And while they're living in downtown Norfolk, they are interning somewhere in Northeast Nebraska within usually about a half hour of Norfolk. And they're graduating and getting jobs and staying, which is what kind of the goal was. And so those are the two big successes. There's been lots of other work done. We do have a co-working space. We're seeing lots of development and just the concept being built that people had no idea about. The Northeast Community College is building an iHub to focus on robotics and manufacturing and training those people. And again, building that new workforce. We were one of the certified creative districts in the state and helped build that program and that legislation. And there's some announcements coming in the next few months, but there is a uh, business-led, I don't want to say co-op because it's not a co-op, but collaboration of a business-led childcare that's going to be opening too. So we've had little ticks on everything over the last five
Fantastic.
years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. What have been some of the challenges that you have noticed as you've kind of been through this process of, the different areas of goals that you've had?
Well, some of that is education because and I'll give the example in 2020 when we were in COVID. The beautiful thing about that was I had time because people were in their offices that I did phone calls and Zoom meetings with them and did a workforce needs assessment just to get a feel of like what kind of jobs do we want to stay here? Kind of jobs do we need and things like that. And one of my questions on the survey was, how do you think automation and AI will change your business? And the answer was not completely, but pretty resoundingly, oh, that's not going to be anything we really worry about in this generation. Also, or it's too expensive, we're not going to automate. Well, fast forward to where we saw so many people, the baby boomer generation started to retire, and COVID changed the way that people wanted to work. And all of a sudden, you were hearing from businesses going, man, I've got to automate so that I can keep up because I don't have the workforce that I once did. And so I think that was a big educational piece. Like right now, where you and I and almost everyone are with automation in our life, even 5 years ago, we didn't anticipate it. And so that was a big educational piece in that realm, but also just letting our local community know that these are the things we're doing so that we can keep growing our town. We know that Northeast Nebraska, Norfolk sits kind of as a hub, that retail hub. And when I moved here 25 years ago, it was so interesting to me that O'Neill's about 75, almost 90 miles west of here. And we're the closest Walmart. So this is where they're coming to shop either once a week or once a month or bringing their kids once a week for dance lessons. Now, those opportunities have expanded, but we know that if Norfolk fails, these small towns fail. And if any of these small towns fail, Norfolk fails because one of the things that came out of those workforce surveys, I saw that um, two of our largest industries here in town, which is our hospital and our steel mill, 50% of their employees do not live in Norfolk. So we are a commuter city. They say our town of 26,000 swells to 50,000 plus people every day of people driving in. So that's why we have to support all the small towns to make sure that we're building up everything around us because we are the metro in just our metro is about 150 miles wide.
I totally understand. I come from a really small town in Western Nebraska, and the closest Walmart was an hour each, whatever direction we looked. So I understand.
I love that point too about like all small towns supporting each other.
Right. It's
I think
so
that's
important. And
mhm.
even as we talked about childcare, that became a conversation of does this mean that we want, if we need to build childcare, do we need to build them in the little towns? Because does a mom or a dad who's working in Norfolk want to drive with their child to Norfolk and have their child in daycare here, or so that they're in the same town where the child is, or would they rather the child stay near home? And then they drive it to, those are conversations that have been had. We have not been able, the businesses that have come together have been ones that are doing it in Norfolk, but that's always been that conversation of where do you want your kids? Do you want them near where you live or where you're at? And so those are
Mhm.
some of those conversations too.
I love it. I love it. And it's also true too, Angie, I totally agree that in order for Nebraska to be successful, like all towns have to thrive. It can't just be like, let's make sure the bigger cities are okay. It's like we all have to play, we
Yeah.
all play a part. So that's great. So speaking of which, partnerships are key to the model.
Yes.
I understand that for sure. But can you talk about how you've engaged local businesses, schools, community members?
Yeah. So this was in place even before I came on because it was these community members and these partnerships that put the plan together. And so, but we've just even expanded it farther. The biggest one is Wayne State College. Madish Ramus is the president at Wayne State, and she was on the Growing Together committee originally and went to her faculty and said, all right, how could we help here? How could we make sure that we're serving our students who the majority of their students most often are from smaller communities. That's not a hard fast. We get people from Omaha and Lincoln, but we know that the people from Randolph or Osmond or Hardington may not want to go to Omaha or Lincoln, want to stay in a smaller school. So let's help them get the experience they need. And so she worked with her faculty and changed the requirements as far as some of those gen eds to get to the degree within basically 3 years. And the last 18 hours that they need will can be that internship their senior year. And their faculty's been amazing to work with. Like I said, we started with 30 and then have moved on and had great success. But then the other piece of that partnership comes in is that businesses have to hire them. And so, or not, and yes, we will feel that we would love you to hire them full time if you need them, but we at least need them hired for their senior year. And that's so fun. I was at a Salvation Army fundraiser the other day and I ran into an accountant that I know and he's like, he goes, and he pointed over to his table. He's like, look, one of our Growing Together interns came to lunch with us today. And I love that because that's them getting involved in the community. And so not just working at a desk and learning accounting, but also learning the importance of the community. And that's been a great, partnership that we're seeing that businesses are actually taking them into their life and into showing them how to be a community member too. We have had amazing partnerships with other schools, with Northeast Community College, with Norfolk Public Schools, as well as then the city of Norfolk and working together in public-private organizations as far or as partnerships. If you look at one of the major things we did was a river redevelopment downtown, and as Growing Together, we came together and helped fundraise so that some of that was a private investment. Also, again, back to educating, like when we're all a part of this together, it really, you own it. If you own part of it, you're proud of it. And so it's been a great way to get people to come together. When you're talking about businesses here in town, it's even more important to get them on campuses. We wanted to hear from them. What are the jobs that you need help filling? And the Wayne State program has changed. We did not have industrial technology in the original plan. Originally, it was communications, business, and IT. And now we have industrial technology because we've heard that, hey, we have a lot of manufacturing. Let's get people educated in that realm. We've also added education, elementary education, and criminal justice. And so all of those things were needs that we heard from a community that then we took back to Wayne. And that wouldn't happen if everybody wasn't working together.
I love the part where you're talking about the businesses that took him out to lunch with them. I think that is such a key role in all of this. If they go there and while they're there doing that internship, they are a part of the team, and you can immerse them within the community, the odds increase so vastly of keeping them and being able to retain them because they feel like they're a part of it. They found what they're looking for. So I think that's wonderful. I think that's businesses that understand that key piece of it, the success rate increases so vastly. So I think that's wonderful.
And I think we've seen that the data has shown that through NSERVs that shows the data that if a student is participating in internship sometime in their college career, the numbers are greater that they're going to stay, which is what this kind of was built on when I talked about downtown, like intentional density. The thought is if you're around people like you, if you are coming out of your apartment and seeing someone else and saying, hey, let's go over here and have dinner or listen to music over here or walk to your office, whatever, there's a greater chance that you're going to connect. I mean, in the perfect world, you're going to connect, fall in love, get married, repopulate Northeast Nebraska. But even just having friends and having that connection is such an important part of making sure that our state is growing.
Absolutely. Can you tell us about a story that captures the difference that growing together has made for a person, a family, or a business as you've been on this endeavor?
I have a gentleman, a young man from here in Norfolk who went to one of the Norfolk high schools, went to Wayne State and was in our Growing Together program. And he was just very kind, nice, quiet young man. And so we were struggling with his placement because he was not an outgoing guy, but he did get placed in, we kind of called a business and said, hey, would you talk to him? And they took him in. They kept him on full time. He's taken on leadership roles within that business. He has flourished. And without this opportunity, I don't know that he would have, or he may have even needed to leave town to go find what he was looking for, but he was able to find it in Norfolk. And like I said, we named him, gave him an award as like, we're so proud of you for, flourishing in your internship. And then just to keep watching him, because he was in our first cohort and watching him continue to lead and be a part of the program. It's great. I just love those stories of young people who are loving it. We had Oktoberfest 2 weeks ago and I was volunteering and here came three of this year's seniors who are living downtown. And somebody said, can I get you something? And he's like, nope, we're just here to see Angie. I'm like, I love that you guys are here and are loving being downtown. Great. That's all I want.
That's so amazing. So what's next for Growing Together? It's been, what did you say, 5 years now? Six?
It is. Well, 5 years. Our first cohort at Wayne State was 5 years. It's about 6 years since the message started getting out there, like, hey, we need to do something.
Mhm.
And I just have had a lot of these conversations because we have done the downtown development and the riverfront and the co-working space and the iHubs getting built. Well, so then one of the things that we talked about, we need to do some strategic planning. It is now time to say what is the next 5 years. Well, our goal was a 30-year. We wanted to see a positive net migration of people. We still need to know, but what's going to get us there? What's the next 5 years that'll get us there? And one of those things is really focusing on people. I've done a lot more work even in this last 3 months, with our schools because we want to make sure that we are connecting students, that they have the opportunities. And I'm not just saying Wayne State, that they are seeing what the opportunities are when we're talking seventh and eighth grade and moving up. And so I think a lot of career development and figuring out a way to connect businesses to careers and to the career students earlier. And that's one of the big focuses for the next year. But again, continuing to do some strategic planning of, all right, community, what is next? What do we need to focus our efforts on? We don't need to develop a river. The recreation piece got taken care of, but what's our community need? And I can't answer that. I need, and we've been talking about, is it focus groups? Is it, just community conversations? Where are we headed with that? And so that is Angie's 2026 marching orders to figure out what's next.
That's great. And I have loved to see that there are other co-ops like popping up around the state modeled after what you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know that's not on our list, but I just wanted to
That's
talk
okay.
about that.
Well, and it is very exciting because Grand Island there is a cohort right now. This is our second year of having Wayne State students in Grand Island that are interning their senior year. They've built brand new housing downtown for them also. And so we are seeing the success. No other community can do exactly what Norfolk's doing. In fact, we've had lots of communities call and say, can we have your playbook? We're like, well, you can read what we did, but you have to know what your people need, what your people will support. And like I had one community that said, we have a lot of kids that go to Wayne State. Maybe we could have a hometown intern and just if the 5 kids from their town that are at Wayne State right now would agree to intern in their hometown. Like, great idea. And the college is open to that. All of our educational facilities across the state are very good at working with the idea of like how can we grow our state. And so I just think there's a lot of opportunities to create it in whatever way. Not everybody needs to do a river redevelopment. Not everybody, and it's so that you kind of have to have that conversation of what are the things our community needs and how could we get there specifically. And that's the great piece that Exarban had come in originally and helped us educate or not educate, helped us define that. And I think as we've had different communities come to town and say, show us around, then it's always like, okay, we're going to go back and talk to our people. Grand Island did it and is in that place with, at least on the co-op scholarship piece. The creative districts are now a statewide effort. Our sculpture walk that we have here in Norfolk is now the sculpture walk across Nebraska happens in several other communities. So those are the little pieces have gotten picked up and put in different parts of the state. Nobody can take, it's not cookie cutter. No town is. That's why we love our community because we're all different enough.
Mhm. Okay.
So we've kind of talked about other communities reaching out to you. If somebody wanted to, I know they can't necessarily replicate it, and you're right, it does need to be kind of what it looks like for that particular community. But if they wanted to get started, where would you recommend they start? Would you be a person that would be willing to have a conversation with other communities that are looking to get this going in their community or something to this effect in their community?
Yes, I've had lots of conversations over 5 years, like I said, of people who are like, okay, I don't know what we need. I also love showing our town off. So anyone who wants to come visit, I can give the tour or we can do a Zoom conversation or whatever those words are and figure out who the connector is. Obviously, we're in the Wayne State world because of where we're located, Grand Island and Norfolk. But, whether it's a connection to the university, whether it's a connection to Chadron State or Peru State, whatever those pieces are, we have great relationships with the community colleges. I love just connecting people. I joked earlier that sometimes I call myself the workforce matchmaker, and that's exactly, it doesn't have to be workforce. I just like being a matchmaker. So let's figure out who those people are that we can connect with. Angie doesn't know everything, but I can help figure out like who do we need to talk to so that you can learn more.
That is fantastic. And I would agree. You are at the workforce and just general matchmaker for sure. It's an important role to play, especially in a state the size of Nebraska. So final thought from you. What does growing together mean to you personally? And what do you want to leave people with today?
Well, it really has been just a wonderful part to see this community, this Northeast Nebraska grow. I did not grow up here. This isn't home for me. I'm not even from Nebraska. I adopted it as my home. And it is interesting that when we talk about who's here, and somebody one time looked at a group of us who were all like leading the way on different programs. They're like, none of you grew up here. And we're like, yeah, we get to pick to be here. So we know what we get. We are the cheerleaders. And I think that's the beauty of growing together is I get to be the cheerleader. I love showing off our town and showing off what we've done and just the pride in doing the things we do. And it's nothing that I do, but I get to be a part of connecting it. My dad one time was here and he's like, so which of these businesses are here and wouldn't be here if there wasn't any Angie? I'm like, Dad, they're not about me. It's that I just get to be a part of it. And so it has been really fun to be a part of something that is people working together. And I have a daughter, so and in her mind, she is going to Wayne State in about 6 years, and so we have all of these reasons to do it, and part of it is being a parent, but part of it is just being a community member and loving where you live, and that's what I do.
Your passion shines through for sure.
Thanks.
Yes. Well, Angie, thank you so much again for joining us. I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Yay!
Excited to hear once you guys work through what the next 5 years looks like.
I know it's going to be we've that is a daunting task to think about. I'm like, who all we want to make sure everybody's at the table. Those that weren't at the table 6 years ago. So those are the things that we're working through. How do we get to that point?
Wonderful. Well, we have a couple minutes. I'm just going to open it up for questions, but Michaela, Angie, any thoughts while we see if people have any questions? Doesn't look like it, but yeah. No?
I don't know. Michaela, have you met any of our Grand Island students yet?
I have. We have one at Chief, not Bill. He interned in high school at Buildings, but he's actually now at Chief Fabrication. He came back from Wayne State College and is at Chief Fabrication.
Awesome.
And then we have another student that is downtown at Amore, which is
Yes.
equipment. Yep. So we have a student down there. Yeah. So I actually do the internship here as well. So I love getting and have students transition from high school internships into post-secondary level internships. So yeah, I have gotten to meet a few of them. Yeah.
Good. It is just a great program.
Yes,
So,
it absolutely is.
yes.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, Angie. Michaela, thank you as always.
Wonderful.
See you both around.
All right, give me a call if anybody wants a tour of Norfolk.
Excellent.
Thanks, Angie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.